Hi everyone, my name is Sam Newton and I'm the founder of Gravitate Accounting. And as we mentioned last week, I've been speaking to Danny about the furlough scheme and how that's going to affect the companies going forward and employees. So we thought we'd just have a quick chat and clear up a few questions that have come my way. So first, I suppose it's probably worth just having a quick recap, Danny, of the coronavirus retention scheme.
Yes, Sam. Thank you for asking me to come on. As I say, I'm a solicitor specialising in employment law. And for those that do not know about the coronavirus job retention scheme, it's a scheme put forward by the government allowing employers to, in effect, stop their employees from coming into work but paying them, while ensuring the government pays a contribution up to 80% of their salary, leaving obviously 20% not having to pay that at all. And the whole point of the scheme is to prevent, in essence, redundancies from occurring. And there are rules and regulations covering how the scheme works, but in short, employees have to be what's called being furloughed for at least 3 weeks, and then they are able then to return to work. Whilst being on furlough, employees cannot carry out any work whatsoever for their employer, apart from they'll be able to carry out training. However, the government has recently made some announcements to change the scheme, which I'm sure I'll go into further.
Yeah, so with the changes, I believe obviously now the companies are being asked to make a contribution towards the scheme. Can you just talk us through how that will work then, Danny?
Yeah, sure. So as I said, the current rules are that employers do not have to contribute a penny to their employees' salary whilst they're furloughed. Of course, the current position is that employees will only receive 80% of their salary whilst furlough. And in order to get that, you will need to seek your employees' agreement. Also, the current position is that the government will pay the employer's contribution of pensions and national insurance. However, that is all due to change soon, but not really until August. So June and July, the rules remain the same. 80% minimum will be paid by the government to the employee, along with national insurance and pension contributions. But then from August, it's still 80%, but the employer will be expected to pay the national insurance contribution and also the pension. And then from September, it's 70%, and October till 60%. Along with another, the limit of 2,500 being reduced accordingly. And the scheme is eventually due to end at the end of October, and there's no indication whether it will be extended beyond that date.
Okay, that all makes sense. So, and how's the flexi element to it going to work then? With it being, I know they're making it slightly more flexible than what it is currently.
Yeah, they're currently going to call it the Flexible Furlough Scheme, or FFS, which I'm sure there's another acronym for what that means. But in regards to the Flexible Furlough Scheme, it allows employers to allow their employees to work part-time, but also to be still in the furlough scheme. So how that works is an employee would normally work a set amount of hours or days or whatever in their usual working practice, and ordinarily will just be furloughed for the minimum of 3 weeks and not be permitted to carry out any work whatsoever. However, the flexible scheme, what that allows is employees to return back to work, to be paid for the time that they actually do work in full, but then be permitted to go on furlough after that, and then be paid currently up to the 80%. And that is due to come in from the 1st of July.
That sounds good. Suppose so. Then we asked a couple of our clients if they had any questions that they'd like answering. So one came back and said, so if they've got a staff member who has been on furlough and now they've come off furlough, can they be put on the flexible furlough scheme?
Potentially. Currently, as you know, the furlough scheme operates for 3 weeks minimum, and then a system of rotation can happen between employees. So you could have a team whereby you put one member of staff on furlough for a minimum of 3 weeks, and then give the other employee a chance to go on furlough for a minimum of 3 weeks, whilst allowing the original employee to return to work. However, under the flexi scheme, that still potentially can happen. However, there is now a cut-off date from when new entrants, so new employees, can be furloughed. So the official date is the 1st of July, but because the current rules state that an employees have to be on furlough for a minimum of 3 weeks, the actual cut-off date is the 10th of June, which isn't far along in the future at all.
Yeah, sure. And so with the flexi scheme, then how flexible will it be? For example, can people be brought back for half a day or?
Yeah, so it's going to be actually extremely flexible. Obviously, this is all subject to, I'm sure, detailed guidance and regulations that will be published in due course. But from what we know so far, an employee can be furloughed on the part-time basis for a minimum of an hour during the week, but it has to be on the week basis. So a minimum of the period of furlough position carries on for is a week, rather than what the current position is for a minimum of 3 weeks. So you could have a position for 1 week where a employee is furloughed for a day, and then work, for example, for the remainder 4 days, and then the following week is then working full time or completely furloughed for the whole 5 days. It's completely flexible. However, the recommendation is, of course, that you obtain employees' consent and consult with them, especially if employers are chopping and changing hours in respect of the employees they furlough.
Okay, that all makes sense. And so, in that example you mentioned there, if someone was to be furloughed for 1 day of a full 5-day working week, how would the calculation work then?
So, from what we know so far, hopefully the detailed guidance will set it out on a clear basis. But currently, there is a cap on maximum of 2,500. And the government pays up to 80% of the furloughed employee's salary, along with national insurance contributions and pension contributions. With the flexible scheme, what that allows is obviously for employees to work part-time and also be furloughed really at the same time when they're not working. So employees, whilst they are working, whether that is an hour, half a day or a day, gets paid that in full in accordance with their furloughed salary, in accordance with that, and then whilst they're not working and actually on furlough. So reminder, whilst on furlough, employees cannot carry out any work whatsoever. They will get paid currently up to 80% of their salary.
Cool, that's all good. And then, so I think you probably touched on this, but someone been asked, what should I consider if I haven't furloughed anyone yet, but I intend to do so? Does that get back to that deadline we spoke about?
It was possible, because the problem may be the problem I expect could happen now is that there may be employees that have currently been furloughed but have not yet been furloughed for the minimum of the 3-week period, and you may wish to furlough others, but you only have until the 10th of June to do that. So due to business demand, you may not want to furlough more than what you currently have, but please be aware that those employees that have not been furloughed before the 10th of June cannot be furloughed after that date. and the scheme is running for a long time, so throughout the summer months until the end of October.
So it's almost a case of, if you've got someone you intend on furloughing in July, August, September, October, they have to have basically done a 3-month period on furlough by the end of June. So
not 3 months, but 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Furloughed before, so they can be put on furlough on the 10th of June.
Yeah.
So they put on furlough before that date in order to make the 3 weeks up before the 1st of July. So today, obviously, 3 weeks is 21 days. 21 days plus 10 is 31. So that's what we're 30th of June. So
yeah, that's all good. And then, just is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else that clients should be aware of?
Yes, just one thing which is probably on a lot of people's minds is the issue of redundancy. Now, there is nothing stopping employers from making their staff go redundant, even though this furlough scheme is available. One word of caution, this is a big caution, is that should you make employees redundant whilst the furlough scheme is available, then there is a risk that redundancy, so that dismissal, may be unfair. So it could be unfair in law, and employees could have a claim for unfair dismissal on the basis that it would have not been reasonable to dismiss them because of the availability of the furlough scheme. However, there will be exceptions to that, and those exceptions will grow larger as the scheme winds down, for example, from August, September, October, when employers are expected to make contributions. Another note on redundancies: as we get closer to the October date, companies may be thinking of carrying out redundancies is because they're currently relying on the furlough scheme to keep them afloat. The hospitality industry is being absolutely struggling because there are currently no plans to reopen that sector. Bear in mind of the minimum consultation periods to consult with employees who you intend to be made redundant. So if you're intended to make redundant more than 100, then it's 45 days consultation. If it's between 20 and 99, it's 30-day consultation, and any below 20, we're looking at individual consultation. And it's extremely important that these consultation periods are undertaken, and there are penalties if they're not carried out.
No, that sounds like a great bit of advice there. Cheers for that, Danny.
No worries, thank you.
So I think that's all the questions that I had, and I think we've cleared up quite a few points. So just want to say thank you very much for your time. Thanks for helping us out, and I'm sure if you've got any questions, Danny will happily help you out if you just want to get in touch with us on LinkedIn.
Definitely.
Great, perfect. Thanks a lot, Danny.
Cheers, thank you.
Bye bye.